Hello guys, welcome back to the video on the status forecast for the channel. Today's video we're going over the winter storm that is currently happening or occurring in parts of the deep south, including areas of Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Kansas, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, Virginia, North Carolina. It'll eventually hit North Carolina. It's starting to move into portions of Tennessee and Kentucky and portions of Mississippi, and will eventually reach all the way back to portions of Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and the Mid-Atlantic states. Lots of thunderstorm activity happening to deep southern crust in ports of southeastern Texas, southern Louisiana, and even parts of Arkansas and Oklahoma and Texas as well, where you can see that mixing happening. Some freezing rain and sleet is in there. A lot of lightning happening in the Gulf Coast, along the Gulf Coast and the Gulf of Mexico, as you can see there. Extensive cloud cover across the Pacific Northwest is associated with another system that's continuing to bring snow and rain showers. Snow showers happening across the Northeast, where an upper level low pressure system associated with the latest system that is currently in the Nebraska area is currently winding snow showers and lake effect snow bands across the Northeast, and cloud cover is continuing to extend. Here are the watches, warnings, and advisories. Again, winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories extend from about the Colorado area all the way back to the Mid-Atlantic states, including North Carolina and Virginia. And these winter weather advisories, as I mentioned in the previous video, I thought would be extended in portions of Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi, and that has happened now. And it has also got as far south as portions of northern Louisiana. So again, another rare winter storm. Winter weather advisories, winter wind advisories, and high wind warnings, and winter storm watches up in the Pacific Northwest, and some very small areas of winter storm warning and winter weather advisories in portions of the far northwestern half, extreme northwestern half of New York and the Great Lakes region. Alright, so here we go. So here's the future radar. So again, we're going to continue. There's that snow. It's going to continue to move off to the east, along with that freezing rain. And there might be a little bit of a freezing rain issue across portions of North Carolina and South Carolina. But there will continue to be a limited severe weather threat in portions of southern Louisiana, and potentially later on into portions of Florida. But I don't see that happening anymore. But we'll have to take a look at the HRR model. That system will not make it far up the eastern seaboard. As you can see, a mixed bag of snow, sleet, and freezing rain, and just plain rain along the Mid-Atlantic coastline. I don't think this is going to add to a whole lot. It's probably going to be like a quick 6 to 10 inch feel, or I'm not really sure. That moves off. A quiet pattern ahead, very quiet actually, and maybe some lingering snow showers associated with a really weak system across portions of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. And then finally we get our first clipper system in the next couple of weeks, with some light snow showers and rain showers across the Northeast, and maybe a little bit of a system developing across southern New England and Mid-Atlantic around the 26th. That move through doesn't look to impact a whole lot. And then finally we get our next major winter storm besides this winter storm that's going through right now. This one looks like it's going to be another classic nor'easter setup for the Northeast as it looks right now. Looks like a decent 24 to 48 hour type storm, or at least 12 to 24 hour storm. That's a lot of snow there. That moves through, and then the clipper system right behind it with some snow showers, and then we get another system that develops right behind it. That winter storm would be start around the 27th and go through the 29th or the 1st of March actually. And to continue on, as you can see, another system wants to develop right behind it. Unfortunately, high pressure in control across the Great Lakes region will force that storm out to sea, with maybe just some light snow showers across the southern New England and the down east coastline. And then that moves through. Here's the year's model again. That snowstorm moving through. That one goes through really quickly. It's going to be a quick snow deal. And then after that, the ERC model is a little bit more farther inland with this and driven by a little bit more warmer air. So the 28th, we'll have to see how this plays out, but it's still like a week and a half away. But as you can see, heavy rain looks to overspread and potentially some gusty winds out of that as well. But snow will start out for portions of northern Maine, and then that system moves through. Another clipper system kind of falls apart behind it. Another system wants to develop right behind it, kind of falls apart again. And then another major winter storm to the northeast through the 5th of March, which looks to be a quite significant winter storm, to be honest, with a lot of snow and freezing rain. So here's the first storm from the year model again. They've downgraded this quite a bit from about, it's like a 1 to 6 inch deal for most spots across the Missouri and Arkansas area and the portions of southeastern Kansas and northeastern Oklahoma. And it does go into portions of Kentucky and southern Illinois. And then that storm will bring a ton of snowfall to portions of the extreme coastlines of both Virginia and North Carolina with a solid, I'd say, 2 to 4, as much as 14 inches of snow. And it'll just brush by the coastline with maybe an inch or 2, inch to 3 inches across Cape Cod, and then a decent coating to an inch possible for Maine as well. But again, that's really that. Here's the GFS model again. It's much of the same thing. It's pretty much for most areas. It's like for the outer states, it's like a quick 1 to 3 inch deal, and then it slowly goes up from there to about a 3 to 6 inch deal. For portions of southern Missouri and northern Arkansas, and it does happen to get into portions of northeastern Oklahoma and southeastern Kansas, into portions of Illinois, Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee. And then it wants to put down a little less, maybe a little bit more snow actually in portions of northern North Carolina and southern Virginia, or southeastern Virginia, with like a solid 4 to 15 inches in most areas. And again, it will brush by the Cape Cod area with maybe an inch or 2 at most. Doesn't look like it's going to affect Maine that much this time, but we'll see how things play out, I guess. The next thing with this system is there's going to probably be a significant amount of freezing rain with this system. Like a lot of freezing rain, potentially as much as a half an inch to as much as 3/4 of an inch of ice in portions of eastern North Carolina, which will lead to widespread power outages probably, and combined with potentially a gusty wind would lead to even more power outages. And it looks to be a significant icing event in portions of northern Louisiana and southern Arkansas, with at least as much as up to around a half an inch of ice, which is a lot of freezing rain, just so you know. And the temperatures behind the system will dramatically fall as well. As you can see, just look at these temperatures dramatically fall. The European model wants to drive those temperatures all the way down into Florida, where temperatures as low as 29 degrees, potentially as low as areas in northwestern Florida could reach as low as 25 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very cold. And the freezing line could make it all the way down into portions of northern Florida, potentially near the Big Bend, which is, again, very unusual, but that's been the trend this entire season. Arctic blast happening in the right where we've seen it the last couple of this season, right square center in the Midwest and Upper Plain and the Great Lakes region, where it could be as low as negative 14 degrees below zero, which is very cold. Combined with a wind chill will dramatically decrease those temperatures. We'll see what the GFS model thinks about this idea. Again, much of the same thing. I just saw one time there. It gets dramatically colder. Right there. Look at that. Look at those temperatures. It gets as cold as the freezing line gets all the way down into portions of northern Florida, where 32 degrees Fahrenheit is possible, but that's not even the coldest. It could get as low as 25 degrees Fahrenheit in the far northwestern tip of Florida, which is very rare. And then Arctic blast is going to be centered right in the Great Lakes, Midwest, and upper Midwest and the Plains area, where as low as negative 12 degrees could be happening there. Combined with the wind chill, it'll make it feel even colder. So here's the temperatures. Here's the temperatures for the next couple of weeks. So again, the first Arctic blast happens. It gets a little bit warmer, and then we get a little bit of a system. It does get a little bit milder up the East Coast, and it gets really mild in the portions of the Upper Plains and Midwest. And then we get a little bit of a warm up, not by much though, and then it quickly crashes down with cold air right there, where cold air continues to build, and we get a little bit of an Arctic blast around the 3rd of March, and then it gets cold one of those nights. And the cold air just wants to stay with that trend, and the warm air is building. So that first Arctic blast builds in, Then we get a little bit milder, like really mild actually, potentially. And then finally after that, we get a little bit colder, and a little bit colder, and then finally we get our first dip in the jet stream, and then we finally get some colder air. So it's looking like a warmer trend and a milder trend, but we'll have to see how things evolve, I guess. So here's the snowfall accumulation for the next couple of weeks. It looks like the most snowfall accumulation will fall in portions of the Great Lakes region in the Pacific Northwest, where as much as upwards of 20 inches of snow could fall, and in the mountains areas could reach as much as 40 to 50 inches of snow in the Pacific Northwest, as far as the European model goes. As far as the GFS model goes, again, much of the same story. Pacific Northwest and the Great Lakes region and through the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic sees the most amount of snow in portions of portions of central and north central and northern parts of Arkansas and the areas of southern and southwestern parts of Missouri. Here's the rainfall accumulation over the next couple of weeks. It looks like the East Coast will get a really beneficial rainfall accumulation. Pacific Northwest continues to get drenched, and the only areas that would receive the least amount of rainfall could be the southeastern half of California. But it looks like a beneficial rain for most areas, as far as the European model goes. Here's the rainfall accumulation as far as the GFS model goes. Again, eastern coast is just going to get absolutely slammed with rainfall and snowfall and stuff like that. Sleet, freezing rain, all of that stuff. And Pacific Northwest seems to get a lot of rain from this too, which they typically do. And the only areas that would be receiving the least amount of rainfall would be the southwestern half of the country. Since there will be some freezing rain, obviously, from the first event, but there's going to be way more freezing rain. It looks like new isolated areas, which is a good thing. Pacific Northwest and Upper Plains could receive, some very isolated areas of freezing rain, and the southeast and parts of the deep south could receive some icing as well. And this does go into Nova Scotia over here as well. On to the severe weather threat. So it does look like we're going to see some sort of severe weather threat in the deep south as far as southern Louisiana and southeastern Texas goes, that sort of area. We'll have to see how things go, but it looks like some scattered thunderstorms could develop ahead of it. It doesn't look as scattered now, but it does look like there could be a line of thunderstorms that does develop with a little bit of straight line winds and gusty winds in there, and some potential hail and even a low-end tornado risk, I would imagine. But yeah, and it does look like it would hit parts of Florida. It just depends on how long this line stays together. But it does look like a decent amount of thunderstorms could happen there. Here's the wind shear for these thunderstorms. Wind shear looks not as good as yesterday, that's for sure. It looks like it went down to along the Gulf Coast rather than going into portions of Louisiana, which means that severe weather threat would remain limited along the Gulf Coast. And then potentially some severe weather. I could still see severe weather happening in portions of the southern coast of Florida, southwestern half of Florida, where some gustier thunderstorms could be potential. Here's the most unstable case. Again, this is the convective available energy, or convective available potential energy. It does graze portions of Texas and Louisiana, and it does graze portions of southern and southwestern Florida. Here's the supercell composite. Again, it's very limited. Doesn't really reach the southern coast of Louisiana that much, but it does reach portions of southwestern Florida. Tornado parameter, very low, but it does reach portions of southwestern Florida. That's why I still think they may issue a marginal risk here than portions of southwestern Florida, but not much in southern Louisiana. I'm going to use a different model to just give us a general idea of what could be happening over the next several weeks. This is a CFS model, which is, I guess, decent for long-range forecasts. So again, it looks like we're going to see that first winter storm blow out. So notice the precipitation field is a lot larger, just due to the fact that this model kind of trends it that way. But it does look like around the 25th we'll get a little bit of a clipper system across portions of the northeast. And in that same system, it's kind of a different position, but around the 27th and 28th, it does look like there is some agreement that there would be some sort of winter storm. It just depends on where the location of the winter storm is and where it's at. And then it does look like they agree again with the winter storm along the mid-Atlantic coastline around the 3rd of March. And that moves through, we get a cold snap, and then another winter storm moves through. This looks like more of an inland runner for the northeast, which means it would be snow across the lower plains, southern plains, areas like that, in the deep south, portions of Missouri and back to portions of Illinois and Kansas. That moves through, again, northeast winter storm. Then we get another winter storm around the Tuesday time frame. This is long range, but it looks like another major winter storm to the northeast. That moves through, and then that's how things look from there. I hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure to like and subscribe. And yeah, stay safe out there, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.